Justin Crane from the Crane and Woolley Estate Planning Law Firm is with us tonight. And as you've heard me say on the program many times, I really believe not having a will or an estate plan set up in your life is one of the biggest mistakes we can ever make. And it is so costly on a couple of different levels. First of all, there's the financial cost that we've been talking about. Also, the heartache, the stress, the hurt that it puts on a family is significant when you pass away and you don't give directions regarding what to do with your assets. Justin, welcome back to the Consumer Team. During the break, you were telling me a sad story about a family. The husband, the father died without a will. Share this with our listeners. Let's talk about this tonight, and welcome.
Yeah, so if you die without a will, without a trust, without legal documents to tell us what you intended to happen after your death, we call that dying intestate. And this particular family that we were talking about, I'm thinking about, there's husband, wife, there's kids, house, bank accounts. Husband died, didn't have anything in place, so he dies intestate is what we call that. And the result of that is we do have to go to probate court to say who gets, his half of community property. And in fact, the wife even came to me because she found out that she didn't have the ability to sell the house, that she didn't have access to some of the accounts, that she didn't have access to all of the assets. They were basically frozen.
Yeah, not only did she not have access, she was locked out. I mean, she was basically an outsider trying to get back into what she thought was her life.
Right. Even her decision to sell the house and go through a process of trying to kind of collect assets and figure out what she's going to do in the coming years, because her husband in this case did die younger. They weren't retired. She was finding out, hey, I can't even sell the house without some help. And so when she comes into the office, I have to have the discussion with her about what it means to die intestate. And everything does not automatically go to a surviving spouse. Automatic would imply that she just instantly has access. And as we just discussed, she couldn't sell the house, didn't have access to accounts. And actually, when you don't leave documents, we have to go through something called heirship proceedings. This may sound kind of crazy to people who don't know about this, but we actually do have to prove that she is the surviving spouse, and we have to prove who are his children. And because we can't just take the word of one person that there are no other children, we actually have to get a court-appointed attorney who's independent. And that attorney actually represents what we sometimes call the unknown heirs. And their job is to basically do some research and try to determine, did husband in this case maybe have children with someone else? And we have to prove all that in court. And after that's been proven, who are all the potential heirs, then we can have some court proceedings about, okay, well, who should have gotten the assets since he didn't tell us in a will or a trust or those documents.
Oh, that's just tragic.
A lot of process. It is.
And this woman, I don't know her, obviously, but she was probably devastated to lose her husband, and then she has this added challenge thrown at her that, as I've learned from working with you, Justin, this could have been avoided had they had the proper documents in place, estate plan, trust in place. All of that would have been just very automatic. Tell us about that, because that's how this story could have happened. Well, probably ended happily, but it could have ended happily a lot easier and with a lot less expense.
Yeah, it certainly could have been a lot less expense. I would still maybe make the correction perhaps that if there had been a will, it wouldn't have been automatic, okay? Because to me, automatic just means the wife could have said, I want to sell the house, and it just would have sold, right? Automatically, she wouldn't have needed help. But the difference if her husband had actually written a will, for example, is he would have stated, this is my wife, I want to leave everything to her. There would have been no question about whether he wanted to leave assets to the three children that they had together, because he would state who he does want to get those assets. And we could have taken that to be proven in court, and it would have been a much easier process. There wouldn't have been these questions of, okay, well, who was supposed to get the assets? And were there any children from another marriage? None of that would have had to have been proven in court, which are requirements when there's no documents or intestacy. So it certainly would have been easier. And I would maybe remind people or point out perhaps for the first time, if you're listening to this, that, keep in mind that Texas is a community property state. And one of the reasons that what we're talking about has to happen is because the husband owned half of the house, for example, and the wife owned half. That's what community property is. And so we have to determine, what did husband intend to happen with his half of the house? So if you leave instructions, you make it a whole lot easier, much, much better for the family and the surviving loved ones.
Justin Crane, part of the amazing team at Crane and Woolley. They are helping me right now get my will and my estate plan put together, and they can help you as well. It feels good to get this checked off the list. I will tell you that. Anyway, love this firm, and you will too after you meet the team. They offer a complimentary initial consultation. Great way to meet the team and find out about the services they offer. Again, this is very important. It's so easy to put it off, and who wants to think about, death and passing away, but you have to, especially to protect the people that mean the most to us. Here's the phone number at Crane and Woolley, 972-560-6288. Again, 972-560-6288. The website, cranewoolly.law. That's cranewoolly.law. Coming up, we're going to talk with Randy.